For 10 years, the Aussie Millions has been wowing the world of poker. The planet's top players have converged on Crown Casino here in Melbourne, Australia to do Battle Royale. Those flames get me every time.
This is how I get all the ladies.
Crown prides itself on being a casino that caters to the VIP.
I just thought like there were going to be kangaroos and koalas like all over the streets. Great poker tournaments, the Australian Open, beautiful girls. It's perfect here in Australia.
There's concerts, there's fun, people are cool, they've been nice to me and everything. And I can be a bit of a jerk sometimes too.
No way.
Yeah.
But it's actually like a developed city. Like if you look around, there's buildings.
Yeah, welcome to the first world.
The key is for us is that everybody's a VIP.
Imagine what you could buy with $100,000. Well, tonight, for 22 poker players, what that gets them is a seat into one of the world's most elite poker tournaments. The $100,000 challenge has remained a signature event on the Aussie Millions schedule. It's played under the original speed poker rules, that is, pot limit pre-flop and no limit after the flop, with only 30 seconds to act. This format guarantees plenty of poker action, and with players of this calibre, we are in for an exciting ride.
Welcome to the Crown Casino for what promises to be a fast and furious tournament. This is our lineup for the game tonight. In Seat 1, it is England's Sam Trickett, one of the best Hold'em players in the world. In Seat 2, Jason Mercier from the United States. In Seat 3, it is Tony the Lizard Bloom, the betting guru and football club chairman. In Seat 4, from Canada, it is Mike Watson. In Seat 5, it's the Russian, Mikhail Smirnov. In Seat 6, Masa Kagawa, one of Japan's all-time money winners. And in Seat 7, one of the most unpredictable players ever, it's Gus, the Great Dane Hansen. $22 players ponied up the 100,000 Aussie dollars to enter this tournament. Top prize over $1 million. We've got a very international field among the 7 at our feature table. Certainly no bigger name in the game than Gus Hansen, who bumps it up with King Queen offsuit. Tony Bloom on the button. He raises. He's going to find himself dominated if Hansen calls. And Hansen, as we know, has certainly called with worse than King Queen. He may even seek to re-raise. No, he wants to see a flop. So it's the Lizard against the Great Dane. Only one winner in nature. Let's see who's going to win on the table. And they've both hit that king. This could be real trouble for Bloom. Hansen's so unreadable given the range of hands he does play. It's almost impossible, even for someone as wily as the Lizard, to put him on a hand.
6,500.
Continuation bet from Tony Bloom. A lot of women will be hoping for a call. He does have backdoor straight and flush opportunities. Well, that has put the flush out there as a possibility for Bloom. Slightly upped his chances of winning this one. But it is Hansen who represents the hearts. Well, Gus Hansen could be representing 2-4, of course, given his pedigree. The clock counting down, but Tony Bloom does make the call, and he's giving a gimlet gaze across at the Dane. He didn't make his flush. And Gus Hansen is going to make him pay if he wants to know that his King Jack
44,000.
is not going to be a winner. Not a huge stack left in front of Tony. And 100,000 or thereabouts in the middle. But he decides to live and fight another day. Tony Bloom, a regular out here at the Aussie Millions, been here practically every year.
500.
We're now looking at Masakagawa. He gets out of the way, a shipping magnate from Japan. And now the man widely rated as the best Hold'em player in the world at the moment, Sam Trickett. He's raised it up. And more paint for Tony Bloom
1,500.
in the small blind. And with a suited ace-10, Mike Watson decides to see whether he likes this flop. Well, they like the first card. He's got top.
Check a bit. Check. Check a bit.
Nothing for Trickett, except position.
2,500.
This should be too much for Bloom. He folds.
Cool.
Mike Watson soft playing this.
2,500. Check.
That's a connecting card, which may scare him a little. It's gone check. And now the overcard has put Trickett in front, and you can't help feeling that Mike Watson let him get there. He's shown weakness all along. No reason for Trickett to believe he's behind. We know he's in front. And now is this going to be a crying call from the Canadian?
Cool.
He does make the call, and he'll see that he was way in front all the way. But his passivity, I'm afraid, has cost him a pot of over 20,000.
Can't be the first time. It's not. I've never seen it, but it can't be.
I've definitely seen it. I think what you said is right. It just doesn't.
500.
A genuine hand for Sam Trickett. Seven-handed. Ace-Jack.
1,500.
And another genuine hand here, Tony Bloom.
4,500.
Decides to fast play what some people consider to be a small pair. Well, it certainly looks small next to Kagawa's tens. Not just a very successful businessman, Kagawa also top of the all-time Japanese money winners list.
Cool.
Perhaps that's what Mercier and Hansen are texting each other about. A raise and a call. Trickett may think he's got kicker problems here. And he leaves it to these two pairs to do battle. We can see that Tony Bloom
Heads up.
is dominated.
Check a bit, sir.
But that's a pretty good flop for nines.
Check. Check a bit.
Doesn't have the biggest stack left in front of him.
6,500.
Is that enough to scare Kagawa?
Cool.
It is not, but he just calls. And look at that. Let's put a set for Tony Bloom, an inside straight draw for the Japanese player. Already quite a lot in the middle. The money could go in here. Rather conservative 10,000 from Tony Bloom, who's begging to be re-raised here.
Cool.
As it is just a call.
Check a bit.
And the 4 on the end is a blank.
All in.
Tony Bloom shoves the rest in. Only one overcard to those tens.
33,500.
Tony Bloom gulping, breathing heavily, trying to hide it behind his hand. But the Japanese player got a sniff of something. Still a handsome refill for Tony Bloom. He's back in the game. the table. We've been playing a couple of hours.
Call.
Trick it on the button. 8-5 offsuit.
1500.
Makes a standard looking button raise, and once again Tony Bloom wants to get his fingers dirty. He's got 9-8.
So it's up.
Some split pop opportunities here.
Check that.
Up and down for Trick It. And a gut shot for Bloom.
2000.
Tony does have a spade, so he has a backdoor flush opportunity, but he won't be too in love with that, just 9 high.
What? No win. No black chip.
He decides to find out right now where he is. Trick It 2-1 against to hit this straight,
Call.
and if he thinks that Bloom has got spades, that's 2 of his cards gone, and that is a spade, so this may deter Trick It from getting any further involved.
$7.5.
7.5 from Tony Bloom, and yes, that was the persuader for Sam Trickett. And everything is going in the right direction from Tony Bloom's point of view. Fresh faces at our feature table, but certainly no dip in standard. In seat 1, we have American Dan Shack. Next to him, in seat 2, it is young Dan Smith, another American, been taking the Aussie Millions by storm. And in seat 3, Sorrel Mitzi, a young player, but certainly one to be feared. In seat 4, it is JC Tran, another American. He's one cool customer. And seat 5 is Tom Durdwan. First he conquered the internet, then he's conquered live poker. In seat 6, Daniel Cates, another young American. And finally, in seat 7, it's Phil Ivey, the man they all fear. Very much out of the frying pan and into the fire. Phil Ivey, JC Tran, Sorrel Mitzi around this table. And here is Ivey. Calls Tran's raise, round to Dan Shack. Pretty playable card, 7-handed. He will be first to speak after the flop, though. He almost didn't want to let go of those chips, but they're in there now. So 3-handed. No red there for Shack. 2 spades for JC Tran. And top pair for Phil Ivey.
5,000.
Tran leads out.
Call.
Quick call from Ivey, and
Heads up.
an even quicker fold from Dan Shack, whose investment didn't pay off there. That gives Tran top pair as well as the flush draw. And it's a scare card for Phil Ivey. Tran keeping as immobile as possible. And Phil Ivey makes the call after some cogitation. That would have given Dan Shack the straight. As it is, JC Tran's ace is still good.
Check.
Ivey may be content to go check here.
And check. Spare aces.
And he'll see he wasn't that far behind, but no dice. Kept it as cheap as possible. Cards in motion. Dwayne and Kate's out of the way. Also Ivy. Back to Dan Shack. Always looks as though he's just got out of bed. Well, this time he's woken up with Jack 10.
Right, it's 2,500.
Ace Rag doesn't want to play, so just JC Tran, who has Shack dominated here. And that king could spell curtains.
Sorry? 35.
If Shack makes a continuation bet, which he does, it's immediately called.
Check that.
That gives Shack a gut shot draw. He'd need a queen.
Check. And check.
Check, check. And the magic card didn't appear. There's really nothing for Dan Shack here. Does he want to bluff into as classy a player as JC Tran? Shack can only win by making an outrageous bluff here.
Raise 15,000.
And he has the steel to do that. But with top pair, Tran makes the call.
Five.
And no medals for second place. But hopefully Dan Shack can use that as good advertising. When he does get a hand, he may just get one more customer. Blinds up to 500 and 1,000. Remember, it's pot limit before the flop.
2,500.
No limit afterwards. JC Tran, big slick.
2.5.
And Dan Shack once again dominated. And once again, given that he's on the button, about to get himself into a bit of bother. Hardly has any chips left.
Oh, you can't hear it. 7.5.
A little bit of accountancy going on to see just how much Shack has put in there.
Yeah, 9.10.
And this will take about a nanosecond for Tran to call.
Two all in play.
Ace King, Ace Jack. He'll want to see some hearts. Nothing there. So really just drawing to a Jack now. Has to be a Jack. Otherwise Dan Shack is walking away, and that is exactly what's happened. He tangled with JC Tran twice. It didn't work out, and we are one player down in our quest for the 1 million. That empty seat has not been filled at the moment, so 6 players. We're looking at Dan Smith.
Raise to 2.5,000.
Bumps it up with King Queen. Fold, fold. Round to Tom Dwan. Almost seems wrong to call him a young player now. He's been so successful and sensational since conquering the internet and live play. He's all in now. Dan Smith will get some of his chips back, and now he can just go to the races. Picks up a gut shot straight draw. So far the ace still in front, and that's how it remains. Tom Dwan doubles through. Saying that he wants to go to the Baccarat tables. Well, he's got a job to do here first. And not bad tools to do it with.
Raise 2.5.
Suited ace jack.
Cool.
Daniel Cates calls with a suited king queen. Seeing some pretty cards. Back to Smith. Rags for him. So once again, Duan is involved in a little personal heads-up battle.
Check it.
Top pair for Cates.
Check.
Duan would need a king, an ace or running hearts.
15,500. Uh, 10 seconds.
Although he did double through, it's pretty much an all-in decision here for Tom Duan.
3, 2, all in.
And he goes all in under time pressure. So suddenly Cates is the one who has to sweat this.
Another 17,000.
17,000 means the odds are right to call. And he'd be happy to see that he is in front at the moment. Duan seems happy about it, but he needs to hit one of his cards right now. Can't do it. So, short and not sweet for Tom Duan. And he's off to try his luck elsewhere in the Crown Casino.
Thanks.
Replacing Tom Duan, we have from the United States, Nam Lee. So, baseball caps next to each other.
Raise 2,500.
New York against Detroit, I believe. And JC Tran under the New York cap has bet out.
Cool.
Ivy getting adventurous with the unsuited near connectors.
Check that.
Picks up a gut shot draw. He'd need an 8. So Kings have been good tonight, and JC Tran has got one. And look at that. Bonanza for Phil Ivey. He's made it straight.
3,500. Cool. Check that.
Just top pair for JC Tran. And a well disguised straight for Phil Ivey. Called a raise with 7-5 off suit.
6,500.
The flush possibility, of course, out there.
Raise 15,000.
And that may just save Tran some money here. But it is such a well disguised move by Phil Ivey
Cool.
that he deserves to get paid off, and indeed he does.
Straight to 9.
Two great players locking horns. And no surprise to see Phil Ivey coming out on top, building that healthy chip stack. Been playing for nearly 3 hours now. Sorrel Mitzi doesn't want to get involved, so round to Nam Lee. Jack 5 in clubs, not good enough in the cutoff,
2,500.
so on the button. Daniel Cates makes a button raise, 7-6.
Cool. Cool. Heads up.
Too much for Dan Smith. So this time it's Cates who's got the near connectors. Picks up bottom pair.
Check.
Phil Ivey has a gut shot draw to a straight flush, a royal flush.
$3,500.
There's no way Ivey is tossing this one away. Just how fast does he want to play it? So far, he's got nothing, but this is pregnant with possibilities, and he will want to get the maximum from it. Decides to see another card.
Check. Check.
Scare card for both of them. Cates may think I've got to win this now. No, he checks.
Check that.
Well, he's been counterfeited there. His 6 now worth nothing. Ivy's queen kicker ruling the roost.
Check.
But it's a difficult board to bluff into.
Check. Check out there.
Check, check, and the queen will take this.
Right.
So,
Nice, right. Sorry.
Kate's the victim of not being perhaps aggressive enough on the turn there. But it didn't cost him a penny more. Blind still 500, 1,000. Action on Nam Lee.
Right, 2,500.
Kate's this time with the small pair.
Cool.
Ivy with the overcards. And it looks like these two could be going at it again.
Heads up.
So how aggressive will Kate be this time?
Check it.
Well, he's missed that one. Ivy top pair with a queen kicker.
4,000.
So long as Ivy can dodge this 5,
Check it.
he's home and hosed. Now Kate's, I said, was a little passive last time when he was in front.
11,000.
This time he bets when he is way behind. So rainbow board. No made straights. No possibility of a flush. So Phil Ivy really must fancy this ace queen.
Cool.
And no joy for Kate there. Can he really pull the trigger the 3rd time? He's counting his chips out. And it's a strong bet.
28,000.
Nearly a pot-sized bet. Every possibility being worked through in that supreme poker brain of Phil Ivy's. Daniel Cates just praying that 28,000 is sneaky enough to put the great man off.
3, 4.
He calls and he's going to love it.
Here, mate.
Cates doesn't even bother to show those ones. That's twice he's messed with Phil Ivy and twice he's come off the worse for it. Sorrel Mitzi being very tight at this table.
Raise 2,500.
Tran having an adventure with King 7 of diamonds. Re-raised by Nam Lee with the big slick. Daniel Cates, who's seen his chip stack diminish, has got a playable hand. Suited connectors. So it's this round to Tran,
Cool. You cool? Yeah.
asking for a check of Cates' chips. Decides not to play, figuring that Cates is so short stacked he may be unbluffable.
Check that. Check.
Well,
Check.
Tran would have made 2 pair. And there is a straight for Daniel Cates.
Check.
Nam Lee drawing dead. It's gone check, check.
Check that.
Cates will want to get the maximum here.
$11,000.
Nam Lee just with the ace high. But 2 pairs on the board, so 2 pairs and an ace kicker. He may just think this is worth looking up.
10 seconds.
Possibly thinks Kate's slightly tilting after those 2 losses to Ivy, but he makes the right decision.
Thousand a call.
So Mitzi
2000.
bumps it up with the King Jack. Blind man's aces for Nam Lee. Ace 4. Well, Ace King was no good for him, and at Ace 4 he doesn't even want to see 3 cards with.
Call.
Daniel Cates, with a medium ace, makes the call. And this is cheap for Dan Smith to get involved, but doesn't fancy it. So pretty much a coin toss here. Gut shot,
3000.
straight flush for Sorrel Mitzi. Bottom pair for Daniel Cates.
Call. Check that.
2 pair now for Cates. And that straight flush draw for Mitzi. This could get messy.
$8,500. Cool. Check it out.
Well, no flush for Mitzi, but he has made a straight.
$19,000. Cool.
Very quick call from Cates.
Straight.
And you can see he hates that one. Sorrel Mitzi looking slightly surprised he got a call there. Phil Ivy, well,
1000 a call.
he's texting. Only 30 seconds to play. He's going to spend 20 seconds of them checking his Twitter. Dan Smith with the Joe Hasham hand, doesn't want to play. JC Tran, an ace on the button. Wants to make this expensive. Nam Lee with rags. Cates just wants to play everything at the moment. Well, he's in front. Big possibilities of a split pot here. Well, not anymore. They've both made a pair. JC Tran has 2 hearts.
$3,500. Cool.
Kate's still pretty short stacked.
Check it. Check.
There may be a shoving opportunity here. Tran has missed the heart this time. Gets one more stab at it. At this stage he would prefer Kate's to fold.
Cool.
Instead it is a call.
Check that. Check.
So Kate's can only be bluffed off this. Tran has no mountain of chips himself.
Check. Check out that.
Decides to check it down and live to fight another day.
33. 37.
And the 7s win. Some much needed oxygen for Daniel Cates.
$1,000 a call.
Tran and Cates very much the busiest players at the table. Tran getting involved, and Cates will certainly
Raise to
want a
7,000.
piece of this. He's bumped it up to 7,000. Now, one of our quieter players, Dan Smith. Sorrel Mitzi has barely dipped his toes in the bath water all evening.
Cool. Heads up.
Tran willing to invest.
Check that. Check.
He makes middle pair.
7,000.
Is it good enough to call a bet of 7,000?
Go. Check that.
Gut shot draw for Kate's.
Did you check? Check, check.
One for Tran as well, although Kate's is better.
Check that.
But instead it's 2 pairs for JC Tran and top pair with a great kicker for Daniel Cates.
Yep.
Just gets checked down.
Two pick, anything else?
That board too hard to read for both of them. Too much like a minefield. And Cates looks like he's having a bit of a nightmare. Doesn't seem happy. Certainly yo-yoing at the moment.
1,000 call.
Queen Jack early position. Raises to get rid of some of the traffic. Phil Ivey with suited near connectors. No surprise that Smith and Mitzi get out of the way. But for once Tran doesn't want to play. So heads up between Ivy and Nam Lee. Squat for Phil Ivey. Middle pair for Nam Lee. Goes check, check.
Check that.
That gives Ivy a straight draw. It's up and down, an ace or a 9. Nam Lee with 2 pairs, asking him the question. Well, the odds are actually right to call here.
Raise to 11,000.
But when you feel Ivy, why call? So he decides to put the foot to the accelerator and lump the pressure back on the young American.
10 seconds.
Time clock ticking down. Just adding to that pressure, stoking it up.
Cool.
And when it's Phil Ivey betting into you, you feel every bit of pressure.
Check that.
And Phil Ivey has made his straight. Once again, it's fairly well disguised.
15,000.
And that 2 pair does not look big enough now to bet into the aggression of Ivy. Good decision there by Nam Lee, certainly on the river. He could have finished it with a bigger bet on the flop.
Raise 2,500.
Tran taking a leaf out of Ivy's book and getting busy with the suited near connectors.
Cool.
Ivy getting generous odds to make this call. And the way his luck has been running at the moment, you can't blame him. Well, that is bingo for Daniel Cates.
Check.
Unfortunately for him, nobody else has really got anything.
3,500.
Tran has a bluff at it.
Cool. Call. Heads up.
Phil Ivey doesn't call. Understandably so.
Check.
Tran has now picked up a flush draw.
Cool.
And Cates doesn't want to scare him away with those 3 aces. This should signal the end of Tran's ambitions. Every time he's bet, he's being called. So this time, check, check. Perhaps Daniel Cates will cheer up a bit now. Perhaps not. In seat 8, it is the Canadian Daniel Negreanu, now resident in the United States.
Cool. Raise to 2,500. 2,500. Cool. Heads up.
Nam Lee makes the call. Hearts could be dangerous here.
Should have done that.
Just the one of them.
Team lead. Check.
Middle pair for Nam Lee. Gut shot draw for Cates. Jack would give him the straight.
Check it. Check.
Alright, placing 100k, right blank.
9.
75 there, break guys.
9,000 from Daniel Cates.
75 minutes, he said?
Pretty hard to call with second pair. Does have that gut shot. He'd need a 9.
Cool.
And that's good enough to secure the call. Instead, it is a cowboy.
Check.
Daniel Cates can only win by bluffing. But something about that poker face tells me he's not going to bother. Still very much in this tournament, but seems to be practicing his walkout. In seat 1, it is Tony G from Lithuania, now a naturalised Australian. A full complement around our table. Tony G and Daniel Negreanu. Never heard of them. Tony G gets out of the way. Sorrel Mitzi playing a hand. This may set alarm bells ringing. Raising it up to 4,000. Too much for Tran, who's played pretty much everything.
Cool.
Nam Lee calls with a better ace.
Cool.
Phil Ivey joins the party. King 7. His spade's no good though, as Nam Lee has the ace 8.
Check.
Sorrel Mitzi's going to get a lot of respect, having played so few hands for a big ace. No spades there. That may deter Nam Lee. Nope. He jumps right in. Phil Ivey does the math here. And, as usual, makes an impeccable decision. That increases the chances of a split pot.
1,500.
9, 10, Jack, Queen, King or Ace will split this. As long as it isn't a club. Sorrel Mitzi has 2 of those, and there are 2 on the board. And he's eyeing Nam Lee's stack.
10 seconds. Cool.
He gets the call, but doesn't get the club. So it is a chop. The only way anyone can win here is by terrifying their opponent out of the pot.
Check. Check. Pair of aces.
So it goes chop chop. We've lost a couple of players, but we still very much have the cream of the poker world around our table.
Tune in next time as the excitement continues in the Aussie Millions $100,000 Challenge.